Hey Queens, and welcome to part 1 of our 3-part series where we're going to learn how to bleach our knots, pluck the frontal, and install our frontal for beginners. If that's something you're interested in, then keep watching. So we're starting off with a wig that came from Wow Angel. I got this off of AliExpress. It does come with a few gifts along with the wig. So we've got the wig band, we've got some lashes. I don't need those. And then we've also got an HD wig cap. To bleach our knots, we're going to need some bleach. I'm using Quick Blue. And then we're also going to need a bowl to put it in along with a spatula. I'm using the 35 developer from the company named Blonde and some hairspray. So since this is beginner friendly, we're going to start off with a cap full of bleach. If you've had your powder for a little while, it may have clumps in it. So typically I like to mash the clumps out. And then we're also going to take a cap full of developer. This is going to make it easier to know that you have equal parts. And the best part about it is if it's too runny, you can just add a little bit more bleach. Our goal for the bleach is to have a pretty thick consistency. We want to make sure that it's not going to seep through the knots, because once it seeps through the knots, it's going to dye the hair, and we don't want blonde hairs at the front and black hairs at the back. It doesn't look right. So of course we want it thick, but we don't want it too thick, because too thick is just going to sit on top of the knots and it won't do anything. Now, once we've mixed everything together, we should have a slightly toothpaste-like consistency. Remember, not too thick, but also not too thin. So now we're just going to take our hairspray, we're going to spray the hairline and just kind of brush those hairs back, because we want to make sure all of the hair is out of the way so we don't bleach anything that's unnecessary. Once we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and flip the wig inside out. I like to do it this way. There's other ways you can do it, but I just feel like this is easiest because then I'm not pressing too hard on the wig. So we're going to start off at the back of the lace. We want to make sure that we start bleaching those knots first, because typically they're harder to bleach. This will just give us additional time to allow the product to sit on top of those knots while we work our way up to the front, which those knots are a lot easier to bleach. When you're applying the bleach, you want to make sure that you're not being heavy-handed. Remember, we don't want any product to fall through the lace, because once it falls through the lace, you're going to have copper roots, and we don't want copper roots because that is tacky. You can fix it, but it doesn't look good. So this is what your lace frontal should look like with the product just sitting on top of the knots. And we're going to let that sit for about 30 minutes. This one actually was already sitting for 30 minutes, so you can kind of see the knots are already kind of lifted. Once the 30 minutes is up, we're going to wash all of that product out. I typically don't like to put the entire wig in the sink. I just like to put the part that has the lace, because I'm really not interested in washing the wig right now because I've already dyed it. Next, you're going to need some type of purple or blue shampoo. The one that I'm using is the Shimmering Lights shampoo. So this is going to remove that brassy type of look that bleaching your knots can leave. The blue shampoo will also do the same thing, but if you use Quick Blue bleach, you're not going to need the blue shampoo because your bleach already has blue in it. So we're just going to drizzle a small amount of each of the products onto our lace frontal, and then we're going to kind of rub it in, and we're going to let it sit for 10 minutes. You don't need any water unless you want to. Sometimes you can make it sudsy, but you really don't need any product. Just rub it in, and we're going to let it sit and work its magic for 10 minutes. Once the 10 minutes is up, you should definitely see a difference. Your lace frontal is going to look a little bit more transparent. And then you're going to go ahead and just wash that out. Remember, you don't have to put the whole wig in the sink, just the part that actually has the lace. And now you guys can kind of see it's not extremely brassy, and just looking at this side by side, we definitely removed that brown color, and this is giving more scalp than anything. I do want to preface that we will never fully get rid of the knots because the knots is what the hair is tied onto. The purpose of bleaching your knots is to take up those black knots to a shade that is your skin tone. Once you take the knots up to a color that is more your skin tone, that's when you're going to give the illusion of scalp, but the knots will always be there. Also, sometimes you'll realize that there are a few black knots within your lace. That's perfectly fine. Sometimes it's not worth over bleaching your lace to get a few knots. I really hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. In our next part of the series, we're going to get into plucking, and trust me, you guys, you are not going to want to miss this. And oh yeah, do you see that scalp on that mannequin? Yeah, okay, so stay tuned for part 2. If it's not up by now, it will be up next week. And if it is already up, it will be linked below and at the top. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.